Welcome to the Wellness Help Desk with your host, Nikayla Modi, certified wellness coach and personal trainer. A wellness podcast focused on providing practical tips on how to curate a healthy lifestyle uniquely for you, where we discuss wellness hot topics with expert guests and have real candid conversations. It's the one-stop shop you need to get the help you've been looking for. Let's dive in. Hey, what's up? And welcome to the Wellness Help Desk. I am your host, Nikayla Modi, and this is episode 20. And you all, this is the first episode since our winter pause where it's just a solo episode. And I'm so excited because I need to give you a life update. A month and a half, we were on a winter pause and I took a month-and-a-half trip to London to spend time with family and spend the holidays with them. And while I got to do that, I also got to go to Italy for the first time. Highly recommend. I had the best lasagna of my life in Venice, and the architecture is so beautiful in Milan. The people are great. And I just really took away a lot of lessons, and some of those lessons will be shared as I talk in future episodes around different topics. But I'm always trying to learn from life. I'm always trying to learn from different experiences. And so that was nothing short of giving me a whole bunch of life lessons in the month and a half that I was overseas. But I'm back in the States, and oh my gosh, I haven't shared this with anyone else, honestly. But I've relocated back to Ohio. That should be a whole other podcast episode as well. But yeah, I am permanently back in Ohio. So many changes, so many life updates, but I'm so excited to talk about today's topic in this episode. Just when is the right time? Especially as it relates to pursuing self-care, making yourself a priority. When truly is the right time? So I hear in my DMs or people in my real life or even past coworkers that they wanted to change their life. They wanted to make a transition. They wanted to pursue meeting one of their needs and taking care of themselves, but how they just couldn't move on taking that action, taking that next step, or making that decision that they knew they needed because it wasn't quote unquote the right time. And I want to take some time to really dive into this today because it's really less about the timing most times and more about what's going on within you. And so I want to preface this with this. I'm not saying that I'm not for being wise when taking time to make a decision or having a season of silence and solitude isn't necessary, or even that taking time for a pause in life shouldn't be occurring, because I created a whole entire wellness program centered on these principles. The intermission, you should totally join. But I just wanted to preface with that as I'm going through breaking this down. So let's jump in. So what you first need to do is just define. Let's just start there, right? Many people say, oh, now it's just not the right time, or I just have a lot going on right now. But what I want you to do when you find yourself saying this, it's not the right time, is to define what that means. What does the quote unquote right time look like? And really be honest in answering this question. Okay, your brain is challenged when it tries to understand the abstract. And I'm going to give you an example. Whenever my dad was in hospice, I was seeing a therapist, and she told me that any funeral or any service that happens to acknowledge a loved one's passing is really helpful for the brain to actually identify, oh, hey, I've lost this person and this is permanent. Because just receiving the phone call that someone has passed away and is gone, it's really too abstract for your brain to ground in. And honestly, it just needs the evidence. It needs the evidence of this event, of that this has happened, that this is permanent. So when you say it's not the right time, your brain doesn't know what that means. Your brain can't ground in any facts or any details of what that actually means of the right time, because you haven't given any specific details or definition to really clarify what the right time even is. So instead, you should ask yourself some of these questions. What do I need to happen in order for me to accomplish X, Y, Z? How much time do I believe is needed to do something for myself or accomplish X, Y, and Z? Who is around or what is available to help me in supporting myself so I can do X, Y, and Z for me? And I want to let you know, there will never be a perfect time. There won't. It's just a set of factors or resources and intentional decision making. That's it. And the answers to these questions will be very revealing because it will help you to see, am I assigning this vagueness to something that actually isn't realistic or doesn't exist? And it will help you to get more specific and more clear about what you truly do desire, what you truly are yearning for to happen, and what you need to move towards that. You know, when my largest growth happened and when I experienced the deepest healing is when I was working full-time, caregiving full-time, growing a business, and in a dating relationship all at the same time. That's when, because even through all of that, I made an intentional decision. I use the resources around me to meet my needs and make myself a priority, even if it wasn't the quote unquote right time, according to other people who would have looked at my season in my life. And this was between 2021 and 2022 when all of this was happening. So after you've defined and answered those questions of what do I need to happen in order for me to accomplish XYZ, how much time do I believe is needed to do something for myself or accomplish XYZ, and who is around or what is available to help support me so I can do XYZ for myself. After you've answered those, now it's time to reflect on the answers. What steps do you need to take based on the answers that you provided? What do you need to work through accepting based on the answers you listed? What thoughts do you need to change based on your answers? Really take the time to be still and reflect on what's going on at the root of this whole comment, which is essentially a thought. It's not the right time. So now that you know you need to define and reflect, I want to really help you to see what happens when you are waiting for this quote unquote right time. One, waiting on some random perfect time is holding you back. It's keeping you from what you actually want. While you believe you're being kind to yourself, you're actually withholding transformation, healing, growth, and your deepest desires from yourself. Essentially, we are delaying our growth, our aspirations, our accomplishments. You just fill in the blank. And I don't want you to misunderstand that as I don't believe in rest and having the wisdom to make an informed decision, right? Again, but you truly know when the waiting is actually holding you back. And I want to bring up a second point. It's not the right time. What is the root of that thought? What is the root of you making that comment? I want you to really challenge yourself to reflect on if you're actually afraid. Are you afraid of what others will think if you take X or Y, Z action or do X and Y, Z thing? Are you afraid you'll fail? Are you afraid things won't live up to your expectations based on the action or the thing that you do? Do you fear being uncomfortable and stepping outside of your comfort zone if you take that whatever action or do that whatever self-care activity? Acknowledge what you're afraid of, give comfort to that, hold space for yourself, and then decide how and when you'll move forward. You have to decide the how and the when, not just how you're going to move forward after you've uncovered the fear, but when you're going to move forward. Again, your brain is challenged when things are abstract. It needs something to be grounded in. And then, a third part to this whole waiting on the right time is perfectionism. Like, are you just waiting for the most perfect conditions, the most perfect support, the most perfect this, perfect that? Are you waiting on this perfect? We all know that life is always 50-50. We've lived enough on this earth to know that. Are you waiting for that perfectly crafted circumstance in order to move forward on making yourself a priority, in order to actually implement the one self-care activity that you know you need, in order to make the phone call to that therapist you've been looking up? As someone who's done a lot of inner work on my perfectionist tendencies over the years, I get it. I get how you're feeling. I get what you want to be perfectly curated and conditioned and prepared, because you believe that if those things are in that order, this result will happen, or you'll feel more in control, or possibly you'll feel even more safe. However, waiting for the perfect conditions will just leave you in the same place for a very long time, whether that's internally or externally. For something to shift or to change, there needs to be at least one domino that falls to trigger the other dominoes falling. If you have those dominoes lined up in a pattern, but you never hit the first one, nothing will happen. They'll just keep standing there. And that's the same in your life. If you never just take one step, just one step to kick off a chain reaction, you will never have change. You will still feel the same. Life will still be the same. You'll still be thinking the same. It will be the same. So to wrap this up, you want to define, you want to reflect, and then you need to decide. You need to define what is the right time. Really go through and ask yourself those 3 questions I posed to you. And then you really want to reflect on what your answers revealed, right? Ask yourself, wow, what do I need to do based on these answers? What do I need to work through accepting based on these answers? What thoughts do I need to actually work on changing based on these answers? And in that reflecting, really dig deep. Ask yourself, am I just waiting for perfect circumstances? Am I actually just being led by fear? And fear of what? Failure, what others will think, being let down by my own expectations, or just being uncomfortable and stepping outside of my comfort zone? And reflect on the fact of, what are you missing out on because you're not moving forward, because you keep waiting for the right time? What healing, what accomplishment, what deep desire are you missing out on right now because you are waiting for the right time? And then make a decision. You have all of this information that you've taken time to define and reflect on and get clear about. Then you need to decide, right? Don't just decide how you're going to move forward, but then when you're going to move forward. If you have been wanting to go and work with this trainer at a gym, and you know, okay, this is how I'm going to go about it, make sure you say, and this is when I'm going to do it by. Whatever it is, decide how and decide when. Some of you keep putting yourself on pause season after season, new year after new year, yet you're wondering, why am I still in the same place? Mentally, physically, emotionally, in my job? Why? And I want you to really allow for yourself to imagine what's possible on the other side of just deciding, whether that's making yourself a priority, implementing some self-care activities in your life, or finally addressing the root of your burnout. In the intermission, I teach you how to accomplish these very things and to start experiencing the peace of mind, thriving over surviving, and the support that you deeply desire. All of this is possible. Just schedule a consultation call with me. The link is in the show notes so that you can learn more about one-on-one wellness coaching, where we do this transformative work. There will never be a perfect time for self-care, for making yourself a priority. There will only be you deciding the how and the when.
That's it for today's episode. Thank you for listening in. If you enjoyed the episode today, head over and leave me a review. This helps others find the podcast and be one step closer to curating their healthy lifestyle. Come connect with me over on Instagram at Nike_Lamoti. And if social isn't your thing, join my beautiful newsletter community via the link in the show notes. To learn more about exclusive one-on-one wellness coaching, head over to randawellness.com. As always, remember to give yourself grace.